Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the Ice ASTV. Of course, Wayne Cozier of Wayne's World joining us for part one. Wayne, we've got a really busy segment, so we can't really dilly-dally about the fact that your boy Landon gave the Winnipeg Ice the second loss of the season, but we might get to that later on. But quite a game nonetheless.
Good. Absolutely.
He wants to get right into it. He's itching at it. He's grinning.
We got a big show up ahead.
Big show. We could have almost done 5 hot takes tonight or 6 hot takes rather, because conversation is going to be short and sweet for a lot of these topics, and we do hope you enjoy them. Do leave us a like, leave us a comment if you are watching, and let us know what's going on. First and foremost, the WHL Bantam Draft. The U.S. part is on the 8th. The Canadian part is on the 9th, which will be the Thursday. There's a set of Saskatchewan and Manitoba players that could vie for possibly being in the top 10 in the draft procedure for these Bantam kids. Wayne, let's take your Saskatchewan guys first before I look at my Manitobans. Give us an idea of some of the Saskatchewan players that could potentially go in the first round.
Okay, sounds good. And I always preface these, as far as listing players and stuff like that, this is kind of like a crapshoot. I mean, even WHL GMs and coaches and assistant GMs and directors of scouting, they struggle with who to take for a pick. I mean, sometimes there's geographical reasons they want to take a player. There can be a number of reasons type thing. And again, the bottom line is no matter where you're drafted at, or even if you're not drafted, everything changes tomorrow, and it depends on what you do from that day on, which is important. So with that being said, I mean, the number one guy that jumped up for Saskatchewan is a kid that's been kind of, potentially mentioned as a number one overall pick, and that's Berkeley Catton. And he started the year in Shattuck's down in the U.S., and I think is in the process of trying to return to his Saskatoon Blazers and stuff. And so he's an incredibly skilled, high IQ player. I've seen him at the Subaru Classic this summer when a lot of these top prospects were playing here in Regina and stuff. And certainly he's got all the skills and stuff and abilities that can transfer to the next level. And, I think it'll come down to, he'll be one of those top picks. It's just going to come down to the priority of those teams that are at those high positions. And I think, number one is Spokane, number 2 is Tri-City. So those are a couple of, West Coast teams. So, they, particularly Spokane, I guess, and Tri-City are both well known for taking Saskatchewan players. And then the mighty Brandon Wheat Kings have 2 picks in a row, if you can believe it. There's a team that's already strong and has 2 of the top 4 picks. So certainly if Catton goes past 1 and 2, I would strongly suggest he'll end up as a Brandon Wheat King. So, there's just one player, but I mean, there's a number of players I'm going to just cite and mention. I've got a few notes here. Tyson Bukowski from Saskatoon Blazers, and I think I got about 6 Saskatoon Blazers on this list. And it's just an incredible organization. I mean, Saskatoon as a hockey town has generated a lot of high-end Western hockey players, and, a number have gone on to the NHL. But, there's a decent-sized left-hand defenseman. He's going about a point a game, I think, in midget AAA. And so he's a kid that probably is going to go in the first round by the looks of it. Second round, probably at the latest. Then a couple of forwards, I guess. Roger Mcqueen, a big 6'4" forward from, again, the Saskatoon Blazers. Kind of an interesting player. I mean, just his size alone attracts the attention of the scouts. But at the same time, there's always those question marks. Has the kid kind of reached his peak potential, and is he dominating because of his sheer size and stuff? So that'll be an interesting dynamic to see, if he's going to go up in the draft or fall down, depending on what the various scouts are thinking there and stuff. Trey Wilke, he's at forward, but a point a game type thing. He's probably going to be, I'm throwing him into the second or third rounder type thing. And then a couple other of the Saskatoon Blazers that I have to mention here, and it seems like we're all on one topic here, but it's an incredible organization, is Riley Ash is one kid that I really like. And I've seen some rankings, and I see Riley kind of in that second round. He could surprise it on the upside and move up, or, again, downside, there's always that too. But what I like about him is he's got a good pedigree, big kid, works hard, power forward type player. I've seen earlier in the year, he played a couple of games in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, or at least one anyways, and picked up 2 goals in his first exhibition game. So, again, a great a player there that a lot of teams will be looking at. Cole Pearden, Terrence Smith, and Chase Woodsky. Again, 3 other players for this Blazers. The last one, Woodsky, is a goalie. And so watch for their names. And one last name I'll mention is Ashton Tate, Prince Albert Minto. A lot of people have him kind of cruising around that second, third round. There is some upside for him too, a highly skilled forward. And so exciting year for Saskatchewan players. And one last point I want to make before I throw it over to you to talk about some of the Manitoba is, the vast majority, if not all these players, I think that I've mentioned, are not playing in academies. So that's important for players and parents to know that it's not an absolute must that players have to go to prep academies to be drafted. In some cases, it can be a detriment because you're in over your head. There's also obviously the cost and stuff. So, I'm a big proponent of players that still choose and wish to stay in AAA programs versus going to academies. And, I just definitely want to put a pitch in there for those people that are trying to make that decision.
You bring up a very valid point, Wayne, and I look over that top 22 list that's out there, and about 60% of those players are prep academy players in the CSSHL. And the thing is, you listen to it and you see it and you're like, wow, like why is that 15U15 Bantam setup so dominant in these rankings? But then you bring up the other side of it, AAA hockey and US hockey like Shattuck, those opportunities, those organizations are just the same. And the value and I guess the exposure for the player is the keynote for anybody trying to get drafted in those top 2-3 rounds. Going to the Manitoba side, just a little bit east of the border of Saskatchewan, I have 3 names that have come up in the last probably 4 to 6 months, really. First and foremost, a Brandon boy playing for the Wheat Kings potentially could be taken in that 3rd or 4th spot by the Wheat Kings, and that's Clark Caswell. He's done really well here in this season, really taken advantage of this pandemic, grown, matured, filled out a bit, but he's pinning it over a point a game, and he's certainly turning heads. I look forward to seeing it, kind of like a Nolan Ritchie kind of thing, where Brandon stayed close to home, not as high up, or even a higher pick than Nolan, but certainly somebody to watch, and will make some ripples in the water, if you will, when it comes to draft day next week. The second person I picked up is a prep guy from Rink Hockey Academy. That's Gavin Hodnit, strong forward. Really coming to his skill set here in the part of the September, October, and has really performed very well within that rink hockey program. He's also playing at a U18 level. Whether or not that gives more of a maturity level to the player, we'll wait and see. And the last player, kind of more dear to my heart, offensive defenseman, head up all the way, similar to like a Paul Coffey, Ray Bork kind of guy. And that's Jonas Wu, just under a point a game, playing for the Winnipeg Bruins, the AAA program here in Winnipeg. Very good skill set, very high demand to see how those players can work. And hopefully we get Mr. Wayne back here in a second. I don't know where he went, but I'll just finish with Jonas. Really good player with the Bruins organization. He's done tremendously well. I hope to have him get picked up here in the first round. He's kind of slated around that number 17 to 20 prospect, depending how you think about it, how you look at it. Bottom line is those 3 players could be set to go in the first, second round of this upcoming Bantam U15 draft. That goes down, like I said, December 8th and 9th. It's the first time in a very long time, if ever, that we've seen a Bantam draft being done in December as opposed to at the end of the season, May, June. Certainly a little bit different for these players because of what happened with the pandemic, not having their draft last year, but also looking at it from the standpoint saying, okay, here's the scenario of giving these players their opportunity to get in. And the bottom line is, I hope we can get going here with some great opportunity for these players. Of course, everybody wants to hear their name mentioned, and hearing their name mentioned in the draft is the most exciting thing for those players. I mean, whether it's the first round, whether it's the latter rounds, just hearing your name getting drafted is so amazing to hear. But as a player, as a parent, and as a team, you've made that mention, you've made that selection, and we're going to get it to once Wayne joins us here in a second. Hopefully he gets the chance to reboot. It's what you do after the fact. And I can't stress that, and Wayne can't stress that enough. I'm not going to speak for him, but we've said it many times here on Wayne's World. It's great to have your name mentioned, but it's what you do with it, how you play, whether or not you mature, whether you take that as a form of pressure in a good way, or whether it's something where you just hang your hat on and say, hey, I was a first round pick, and then your career just kind of slowly fizzles away. And we don't really want to see that for a lot of these players. But in the meantime, as Wayne comes and joins us here in a second, we're going to take a quick commercial. We'll come back, and hopefully he joins us here. Stay with us here, Waynesville. We're going to have part 2 with our hot takes in a minute, right after this. Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment. Joining me now, Brad Platt, co-coach of the U18. U17 or U18, Brad? I keep forgetting.
U18, Theo.
U18 female program. Crazy, amazing weekend in Winnipeg. I think you guys just taken hotels and had a week off and stayed in Winnipeg. What do you think?
Yeah, no, we might as well.
Hey,
We're back in there again this weekend.
Back in this weekend. We'll get to that in just a moment. Brad, talk to me real quick about how the weekend that was this past weekend for you. It was a showcase that had 2 teams from out west and then the St. Mary's Academy from here in Winnipeg. Started off great against Delta.
Yeah, we sure did. Actually had a really good game against Delta. And Nicole River Johnson was in net for that game, and she played really well. And so she made some big saves early on and gave us that confidence, and we actually scored a handful of goals, which is nice to see.
It's good to see the offense. I mean, it's hard the offense breaks out, get great goaltending, get the W on the board. Faced a little bit different team. This is the first time you faced St. Mary's this year in the second game?
No, second game. We had an exhibition game, or no. Or was it exhibition or league? I don't know. It's I'm pretty sure it was a league game early on. We lost them 3-1 early on. I thought we played good that game. They got a good team, but we weren't really on top of our game for that one. A few goals went in, lucky bounces, and kind of deflated the girls a little bit. We would get some momentum and then got another crappy bounce, and that's the way the cookie crumbles.
It must have been soft ice with the puck bouncing all over the place. We'll blame it on the soft ice in Winnipeg. The warm weather that we're not normally used to seeing November late, right?
Yeah, sure. No,
yeah, sure.
It's the puck wasn't actually bounces. It's just the term I'm getting.
I certainly understand how the cookie crumbles, how the puck just doesn't bounce our way. It's unfortunate to see the last game against OHA, another heartbreaking loss, but what was the final outcome of the entire weekend for the girls, for you as your coaching staff? What were some of the take-homes for the 3-game set in Winnipeg?
Just we got to show up to every game. We're not, some teams, we could play with all these teams if we play the way we can. That consistency part of our game is still lacking. We need to be more consistent. it's nice to see that we can put the goals in the net, but we got to work hard for every win. The other teams aren't just going to hand it to us. So I'm hoping these kids are starting to realize that it's it's not just all fun and games. We got to go out and put a little bit of work into it, and but then when they do get into a game and we get those lucky bounces against us, we got to keep pushing forward. We can't get deflated and take any shifts off, or else it's just going to get worse.
How hard is it, Coach, to explain to a team or explain to the group that what's done is done, you can't fix that, it's only what we move ahead to, and how we can look at what we can control and what we can't?
Yeah, I should have wrote all these things down when 22 years ago when I started coaching. If I could remember half of them, I could probably write a pretty good book. But every year it's the same thing. You could look at the calendar. Okay, we're going to start going through this. Okay, this is the date. We're going to start going through this. Like it's sports. To try and keep that positive atmosphere and try and stay positive and know that we'll work our way through it. We'll work hard, and then all of a sudden they don't get rewarded when I do see them working hard. And it's hard as a coach because you want them to keep their head up and not get frustrated, but it's always going to happen.
It is. And it's easier said than done. Another coin phrase we'll say.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that you, as I coach and you coach, it's very difficult to try and reset the ship and push it and nudge it in the right direction to positive play. And the good thing is you get to return to Winnipeg, but it's a little bit different of a setup. It's not a CSSHL weekend per se. It's more of a showcase weekend for teams in Manitoba, and it's the Girls United Showcase, right?
Yeah, it's put on by Hockey Manitoba. They've been doing it for a few years now. It's usually a well-attended showcase, but since the AAA league itself they went really heavy in the first half. Not every team is there this year, so we don't have as many games as we usually do, but we're getting 3 games, so which is good. We're a little bit hit with some injury bug here right now anyway, so 3 games is enough.
It certainly will be, and you'll be playing Balmoral Hall for one of the teams. I believe it's and you have 2 other opponents that are not from Winnipeg, correct?
We play Balmoral Friday afternoon, and then we don't play again until Saturday night against Yellowhead Chiefs, and then Sunday morning against Interlake Lightning. So
it's going to be a long break in between 1 and 2, and then a quick turnaround 2 and 3. Any type of foreshadow you want to give me in planning this weekend for the time off or the recoup time?
We're gonna try and stay more focused on the hockey side of it. This past weekend we had a big gap in between our second and third game also, so we went and did some fun stuff in the city, escape room, and gave them a little bit of time at the mall. I could have done without that. I was done with it 5 minutes after we got there. It was pretty crazy busy with the Black Friday going on, so second guess my thought on that one. But we did a little bit of team stuff this past weekend, so this weekend it's time to get focused here, and this next half we have to stay focused and just come to work every night because we need to. And I keep telling the girls, okay, hard work, you're going to get rewarded. Okay, now we consistently need that hard work, so let's come to the rink focused, and hopefully we can get rewarded this weekend.
Absolutely. Be sure to check out those games at the United Showcase. It's all taking down Bell MTS Iceplex. If Santa could come tomorrow, Brad, or if the menorah was all lit up with all the 8 crazy lights, what would you hope is a little bit of an early gift for the second half of the season for the team?
I don't want to get too greedy, but even for this coming weekend, it'd be nice to come out with, for sure. It'd be okay. I don't know what to say. 2 out of 3. It'd be nice to, and then the next half, I don't know. Are we going to win every game? I just want consistent. I just want hard work. I've told the girls since September, I don't care win or lose. If we go and give a solid effort and win battles and just be hard to play against, I'm 100% happy with that. And so I guess that's what I want for Christmas. I just want everybody to be engaged in the game and have a purpose when they get on the ice, and just be hard to play against. And if we can do all that, then we'll come out successful for the most part, I think.
Brad, I'm going to add one more little nugget under the tree if I can. It'll be a little bit of offense. Extra offense is always good. Morgan said he is, about a point a game, and she's really trying to hold the low. I believe she has 21 points over the season thus far, but she could definitely use some help in the goal scoring and the assist department for both forwards and defense.
Absolutely. We worked on a lot of offense in practice in the last couple of weeks, trying to create some more stuff, not be spectators, and just watching the puck carrier just, again, get involved and, just get in there and get the rebounds, just be hard around the net. And it would be nice to get a few more girls chipping in goals situation. It's really hard to win games when we're only scoring 1 or 2 goals a game. So, we need that for sure.
Definitely puts a lot of difficulty on the defensive side, especially the goaltending when there's only 2 or 3 up on the positive end.
Yeah.
Brad, look forward to seeing how the weekend goes. Friday night, Saturday night, and then a turnaround Sunday for an Interlake game. Good luck this weekend, and let's hopefully the girls have a great weekend with you and the coaching staff.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thanks a lot, Theo.
Appreciate the time, Brad. That's Brad Platt, co-coach of the U18 female Buffalo team. They'll be in town in Winnipeg for the Girls United Showcase. We're going to get joined by Wayne Kozier. We're going to finish up our discussion on the WHL Bantam Draft. Stay with us here on the ice. All right, I lost Wayne for like 5 minutes. I don't know what happened, but that's okay. We got him back. Wayne, you good to go now?
Absolutely. I don't know if I have to check my internet service provider, or hopefully we were getting so many viewers that overloaded the Amateur Sports TV's network.
I don't know. Either one. I'll take the latter of the two as the reason. That's a good one. I'll take that one. I just kind of went over a little bit of a discussion on. We talked a little bit about. We've always talked about getting your name mentioned, but then what do you do with it next? But before we get back into that conversation, let's talk about some of the hot takes when it comes to this Bantam Draft. And our first hot take, I'm going to set the timer because you kind of mentioned it a little bit to me earlier, and that's in regards to whether or not it is something when it comes to geography. And the hot take number 1, does geography play a role in when you get drafted? Who gets drafted? Yeah,
and definitely I would say that it does in a lot of cases play a role type thing. And, particularly in the early rounds, I mean, teams want to ensure that player is coming, if it's, say, the first, second, maybe even in the third round. They want to clarify in advance that player is going to come and report, particularly, even if it's maybe local, but certainly if it's further away and stuff. And it just could be pertain a lot of cases to, how the organization is doing. In some cases, it's, the smaller centers have trouble drawing players. And, just to pick a couple, I mean, Swift Current's a very small city. I think it's the smallest in the Canadian Hockey League. Even Prince Albert, do some of the big city folks from, the northern U.S. or western U.S. I guess they're all applicable to play in the WHL, or the big cities of Vancouver and Kelowna, Calgary. So it's something that they got to definitely check out. And so that's from a team perspective, and then also from a player and parent perspective. Do you want your child playing so far away from home type thing, and how mature are they? So those are just some of the key reasons that I think geography plays a big role.
I will agree with you on that. And furthermore, I'll take to the point that, when it comes to like crossing the border, especially over the last couple of years, how Berkeley Catton is now in Shattuck, potentially moving back to Saskatchewan. You mentioned 6 players that play on that Blazers roster. Definitely some of those players could be staying in Saskatchewan or very close by when it comes to them going on to the next level. That'll be number 1. Number 2, we're going to talk to in regards to the age and whether or not you think, Mr. Wayne Kosier, is the draft age too young?
I'm going to take the approach that yes, it is. And, simple facts, it is the youngest draft in Canada and the U.S. Most other territories will draft a year older at 15, which is still even quite young and stuff, because there's still a long road of maturing and development in any of those players and stuff. But, I know it, may come down to competing with the NCAA for players and trying to get the jump on those folks. But, players can change a lot in even 1 year. So from 14 to 15, the maturity that can happen both emotionally as well as physically is incredible. And the other thing I like about, taking it up a year is it would allow the teams a little bit like we're seeing this year, because the draft got pushed back to December. You get to see these players play at the next level. So play at the midget AAA level and see how they compete against the bigger, tougher bodies that they can compete at when they get to the WHL.
I will certainly agree. It gives them that extra year at that bantam or that midget level in their hometown to still be not only just a kid, but to mature a little bit within their own realm. And sometimes making that move at that age can be a little bit of a daunting task, creating some more anxieties on and off the ice. And certainly moving to a different town for the first time for a majority of your season, away from your parents, from your family, could pose a little bit more of a test off the ice, not so much on the ice. But if you're ready to be prepared and you're ready to play hockey, then, I mean, if you have that opportunity, then I suggest taking it. But for a majority of these players, it is a little bit young for them, and I do agree. Let's get into number 3 here. I'll take number 3. Is it better to not get drafted at all, Wayne? I mean, coming from a Hockey Advisor scout proponent here, talk to me a little bit about how this may benefit those that don't get drafted at all.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, is it good to be drafted? Yeah, it's every kid's dream to get drafted at the, their junior A level, their Western Hockey League level, or the NHL level. Absolutely. But I think what's important is just for players and parents to know that's not the be all and end all, because there is some upsides to not being drafted. And, we'll start at the WHL level, basically, where, if you don't get drafted, the closer that you get listed by a team, so that would be your options after you're not drafted, you could get listed by a team and put onto their protected list, the 50-man player list, or you could just go to a free agent camp, say at spring or a fall camp, and then get an invite to the main camp. And the closer you enter an organization, so that it may be the same coach that you play for, or you may see that there's a gap in whatever your position or skill set is that they need, that's a great fit for you. So it gives you some opportunity to put yourself in there. And the last point I'll make, and I mean, my son's a classic example, even at the NHL level, his advisor or agent has always told him that he's better off not to get drafted if he doesn't get drafted in the first couple of rounds, because at the NHL level, it's basically you're a complete free agent. And so when you're 21 and ready to maybe play pro hockey, you can pick your spot.
You bring up an excellent point. I feel that sometimes you kind of touched on it. It's not part of the question, but that protected list in the WHL is so big. And it really is one of those things where, it's almost you're fighting with other leagues just so they can't take your property, or they become property of a team for what reason. And that reason is so, obscure. It's so it's just so doesn't mean anything. I mean, my brother was protected by 3 different teams in 3 different leagues. And I was like, what is it? And we talked about it today. I'm like, what did it really mean to you? And he goes, not much. Because the be all and end all was, if it wasn't for me making a phone call to Coach Dan Bouchard at Life University, he wouldn't have a scholarship for 9 years to go play at Life University in the ACHA. And come home with trophies and rings, but back when the ACHA was a pretty killer dynamite league in the early 2000s. So we've always said on this show, there's so many avenues to go with. I think if, you have that opportunity and it's something you want to pursue, great. But if it's not what you want, then don't be forced to do it, right?
Absolutely.
Last but not least, our hot take number 4. Like I said, this is how we've ended up section 1, but I got to get Wayne's take on this. It's wonderful. You get your name heard. You get your name called. It's off the board. No one else can take it. But what do you do next?
Yeah, it's a good point. And I mean, it's obviously the excitement and elation for a player and a family to be drafted is surreal. And what my advice would be to those players is, enjoy that moment and then recognize that tomorrow is a new day and it all starts over. And basically everyone from round 1 through 7 that was drafted, or 10, I guess they'll go through. And then as well as the free agents, you're all competing for the same position and stuff. And you just got to be aware that there's going to be players that are late developers, late matures, that are going to really, potentially catch up under you. So don't take anything for granted. I mean, you do have some advantages by being a high draft pick because they're going to give you every chance in the world. But there's always somebody out there looking to eat your lunch. And so, from there, basically, you're going to get a call from the GM and or the head scout to congratulate you and welcome you to the team. And ideally, you might get to go to a spring camp. And again, it's going to be a little bit different this year with the way it's set up, or, join them late in the season after your midget season is done. But an exciting time for sure.
I will say it's an exciting time. Yes, great. But that next day is the next day of your next step. And if you think this is the be all and end all to hang your hat on you being drafted in a first round or second round, or you've got another thing coming, man. I mean, I think that this WHL Bantam Draft, because of the age and because of the potential of what a player can be, there is so much still up in the air when it comes to growth spurts, maturity level, your academic side of things, the intangibles you and I have talked about over the last couple of weeks, Wayne, certainly can not make or break a player, but can help develop or create a little more, hindrance on that organization, saying maybe we didn't make the right choice, and perhaps maybe we should take that Kosher guy that wasn't on the board in the NHL draft, and look what he's doing now in Prince Albert, right?
Yeah, there you go. Great example.
We'll leave it at that, Wayne. Anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
No, I just want to, wish luck to all the players and their parents type thing. I mean, it's an exciting time. Enjoy it. But again, I always like to close out with, don't be too disappointed if you don't get drafted. I mean, it's not the end of the road. It's actually just the start of the road for everybody. So, go through your pain and sorrow that day. Next day, go back to work and you can earn yourself a role every day in the WHL.
Wayne Kosher, Wayne's World here on ASTV. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Case Financial Group, Dokes Bulk Fuels, Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, and of course, Toby Hockey. We'll be back next Tuesday with Wayne. Wayne, I'm going to kind of foreshadow next week's episode. I want to talk to you a little bit about the time frame to which this December draft does for the upcoming year and their draft at the end of the season. Because this is a short window, and we're going to see a lot of potential prospects being picked up from across Canada, Western Canada at least, for these Western Hockey League teams.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to make for some interesting and very competitive camps.
No doubt. On the ice here on ASTV, thanks for watching, bringing more goodness to the greatness. Check us out Tuesdays and Thursdays here at 6 o'clock on all of our media feeds. I'd like to thank Wayne for coming back. I was a little bit worried, but I'm glad he came back, and I'm happy you did too. Thanks for watching. Take care of your neighbors and have a great rest of the evening. Bye-bye for now.